DAX Studio. Okay, sorry, let me come again. You have to download the Power Pivot plugin. Once you download the Power Pivot plugin online, the moment you download the Power Pivot plugin online, you will now activate it on your Microsoft Excel screen. Once you activate that on your Microsoft Excel screen, then you'll be able to connect that to the DAX Studio from Microsoft Excel. We'll connect that to that studio from Microsoft Excel. Okay, let me bring up my Microsoft Excel screen now. Let me put on my Microsoft Excel screen. So let me bring up my Microsoft Excel screen. Let me stop sharing. Now, this is my Microsoft Excel screen. When I brought in the data into Microsoft Excel, the next thing we did was to create a pivot table with that. We created a pivot table with that, and when we created the pivot table, that was the model I showed you. Then from that pivot, when we created that model, we now created a pivot table. This is a pivot table. As you can see, the right hand side, you can see the pivot table. Then we go to Power Pivot. When you want to connect Microsoft Excel to DAX Studio, you use the Power Pivot. And as I told you earlier on, you have to download the Power Pivot online. You download the plugin online and activate it on your Excel screen. We've already done all those trainings. Then with the moment you do that, you go to your data menu. You click on your data menu in your Excel spreadsheet. You click on data. You click on the pivot. Then you connect it to the DAX Studio. Let's go to plugin. Let's not add-ins. Okay, when you click on add-ins, you can see the external. We can see the DAX Studio there. My screen is going on and off. Come with this. Okay, when you go to the plugins, when you click on the plugins, it will bring out the DAX Studio. Please just a slight special. My screen is I'm sorry for that. My screen is just going screen. Okay. Okay. Now, once you go to when you go to your add-ins, when you get your add-in, you click on DAX Studio. Then this will activate the DAX Studio that will be installed on your system. So you have to also go online. You have to download the DAX Studio and install the DAX Studio on your system. The moment you click on DAX Studio, that will activate the DAX Studio in your system. It will load the DAX Studio on your system. When you close the DAX Studio on your system, you'll be able to connect to the DAX Studio. Now let us see how we can connect the Power BI. We've already done everything that needs to be done. All what was needed was to connect the Power BI to the DAX Studio. Then we'll continue from there. Now, this is my Power BI screen. If I want to connect Power BI to DAX Studio, all I need to do, there are two ways to do that particular connection. You click on the external tools. When you click on the external tool, you will see DAX Studio. Because the very moment you install when you install Power BI on your system, the DAX Studio is already embedded in it. So if you click on the DAX Studio, the very moment you click on the DAX Studio, it will activate it will load the Power BI, it will load the DAX Studio software on your system that had already been installed on your system. It's going to load that particular software. It will load it. The moment it loads on your system, now you let me bring up that screen. It has loaded the software on my system, DAX Studio. It has loaded the DAX Studio on my system. Let me just bring up the screen. So the moment you click on DAX Studio, it will load the DAX Studio that had already been installed on your system. So that means you have to download the DAX Studio software and you have to install it on your system. I'm coming, I'm trying to load the DAX Studio. Okay, I'm seeing it now. Okay, now this is the DAX Studio. So the very moment you do that, it will load the DAX Studio and connect it. Now, when you click on connect, it is already connected. Now you can see I've clicked on connect now. If I want to connect Power BI to DAX Studio, I have a list of options here that I can connect Power BI with Power BI. I can connect Power BI with Tabular Server. We saw that Tabular Editor. Also, I can connect Power BI with Excel. Now you can see this Excel option is not active. I can also connect it with this Excel option. But now I want to connect it with Power BI. All I need to do is to select Power BI. When I select Power BI, any Power BI window that is opened on my screen. Currently, I only have one Power BI window opened on my screen. That is why I only have one option here. If I have more than one Power BI opened on my screen, I will have more than one option. So since I only have this option, the option is selected. The next thing I need to do is to click on Connect. But when I click on Connect, that connects Power BI with that Studio. So the moment you connect Power BI with DAX Studio, then you can start running your query in your DAX Studio. Now let's look at this. Let's look one or two things about this DAX Studio environment. Now on the right hand side, which we know we are familiar with the close button, the restore down and maximize button, the minimize button. On the other left hand side, we have the save command. We have the open a new query window command. We also have the open new query window command. At the bottom here, we have three menus. We have four menus: the file menu, we have the home menu, we have the advanced menu, and we have the help menu. And you can see that each of these menus are divided into various groups. For instance, the home menu is divided into query group. The next is a cache group. The next is the output group. Now, when you look at this particular case here we have the query group. There's a thin line separating the query group with the cache group. That's in that a very thin vertical line there. Then we have the output group, we have the edit group, we have the format group, we have the find, Power BI, we have the trace, and the connect group. Now, so each of the menu is divided into various groups, as we can see. Then we have the home menu here. In the home menu, here is to run the query. For instance, if I want to run a particular query, all I need to do is to type. Now, when you want to run a query in DAX Studio, then first we always start with what we call the evaluate. Is the evaluate keyword. You always start with that keyword evaluate. Anytime you want to run a query in DAX, you start with that keyword evaluate. Now, the next thing, evaluate what. Let's assume I want to summarize. Let's say I want to summarize columns. Now, the summarized column, the next thing is going to bring out the argument, the function, and gives you the argument. Like, but for instance, this summarized column, I need how many arguments? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I need the group by column name. I need a filter table. I need a name and I need an expression. I'm just trying to give an example. Now I want to summarize a column. In this my table here. Now because on this right hand side you have the tables there on this right hand side. When I click on this customer table, I have a list of columns. So let's assume I want to summarize some of these columns. City. So column city. Now, for me to summarize this column city, I have to reference the table name first because I have some tables here. I have the customer table, I have the date table, the email table, I have new date table, product table, and a other list of tables. Now, for DAX Studio to be able to identify the particular table you are referring to, you first and foremost need to reference that particular table. You have to reference that particular table you want to you are interested in. So for this particular case, I'm interested in this table known as customer. So I'll first and foremost reference that table customer. When I reference the table customer, I will use an open bracket. Normally, I don't know why it's not coming up. The moment I type customer, a list of option lists will appear. But this particular case is not coming up. In case those options does not come up, you use an open square bracket. Now I'm interested in this column known as city. You can see that. So I type a comma. I'm also interested in another column in this particular table known as, let's say, customer ID. I click on that. Now this summarize column function. This summarize column function gives you opportunity to pick columns from other tables. While the summarize table function, you can only use that from a particular table. So let's assume I want to pick another column from this table. Let's assume the product table. Let's call that products. Okay, let me just pick one more. Just let me call that category. Okay, that's all. So let me just stop there. Now, the moment I'm done with this, if I want to run, I use this button to run. So remember that helps you to run your query. Now you can see the output there. This is my query. Now, when you run your query, you can see the result appears here. The result appears here. Now, if I want the result, this place called result, you direct where you want your result to appear. For instance, if I want my result to appear in an Excel spreadsheet, this is Excel here. Why this is talking about statistical sheet, that means you have something like SPSS, EViews, or any statistical program. But if I want it to appear in Excel spreadsheet, I can click on link sheet. Now I've clicked on link sheet here. You can see link sheet is active here. And I decide to run this query. Whenever I run this query, it will bring up an Excel spreadsheet and the query will appear on that particular Excel spreadsheet. The query will appear on that particular Excel spreadsheet. So it will appear on that particular Excel spreadsheet. So that's where you will see your output. Your output will appear in that particular Excel spreadsheet. So this other option here is formatted file. So when I click on that formatted file and I run this query, it will bring up a dialog box. Let me see if I can bring up that dialog box so you can see that. To bring up the dialog box, let me see if the dialog box will be able to, if it comes up on my screen. Okay, it's not coming up. So it will bring up a dialog box. In that dialog box, when it brings up that dialog box, you are going to say, type in the file name and where you want the output to be saved. So any output you run on your DAX Studio will appear in that particular. Oh, okay, the dialog box. Okay. So okay. So you type in there. Once you type in the file name there, so any query you run on the DAX Studio will be saved there, will not appear on this DAX Studio screen. So we have the other one, file. File is also the same thing. It is similar to the other one. Then let me return it back to the result sheet. Now, when you use that's the first option, results table. When you run the query, on it appears on this particular DAX Studio screen. Then this helps you to build a query builder. The query builder is a kind of thing that helps you. It teaches you how to run some query. You can learn run the query with that. Why this is clear cache? Now we do browsing. Why we browse? When I want to clear some of the testing on our browser, because at times you might be running a code, you might be getting your previous results, you don't know that the problem is because of the cache. You need to clear that. You need to clear that running this thing of that one that does one. Why is also clear the cache why it runs. Now this also talks about copy. You can copy your results. Yeah, it talks about copy, paste, and the rest of them. You can decide to copy your results. You can decide to copy your results. You copy your result, you copy it and you decide to paste it somewhere. That what that does. Then here we have, this is paste, this is to undo and redo. We know what that does. This helps you to format your query. The moment I decided to format the query using short formatting, you can see it has formatted the query using the short formatting option. While the long formatting, it helps you to format your query. Then we have this to change it uppercase, lowercase, and this is to comment. Now we want to comment in DAX Studio. You make use of the slant. You make use of the slant, that is slant to the right. For instance, I click on this comment, you can see it commented this particular query. So the moment I have another query here, for instance, I have another query at the bottom. I have another query at the bottom here. I have another query at the bottom here. And I want to run that particular query. Let me assume I remove this off. Now, it will not identify this one that has the comment. It will identify the one that has the comment. It will ignore that particular query that had the comment, and it will run this other subsequent query. Let me see what is the issue here. Okay, we have a comment here. Let me delete this comment and let's run it again. Okay, now you can see ignoring this first query. Now you can see this first query, we have category. Why here we only have city and customer ID as a column heading. So this other query here, it ignores this other particular code and went ahead to run this code. So that helps you to comment and uncomment query. Okay, Mr. Onomide. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So are you saying evaluate is just like select next to what? Evaluate. Evaluate is like say select in next page, right? No, evaluate means is to run the query. Yeah, no, I understand. So now to select and to bring out these columns from a table. Yeah. So you do evaluate like select, right? And it might. Or are they different? No, yeah, I won't say it looks like select. Select me. Okay, fine. Let me just use in this context. It works like select. You get me now? In this context, it works like select. You get me now? In this context, but in that studio, any query you want to run in that studio, you must start with evaluate. Do you get me now? Do you understand me now? Yeah, any query you want to run on DAX Studio must start with evaluate. But if I want to run this query on Power BI, I don't need to use evaluate. I'll just copy it from here. Now, once I copy it from here, I'm going to bring up my Power BI screen. I'll run this query. I don't need the evaluate if I want to run it on Power BI. So let me bring up my Power BI screen. Okay, yeah, here is my Power BI screen now. Let me call that. I click on that. Now, since the result will appear in the form of a table, I'm going to click on new table because my output will come in the form of table. So I have to click on new table. Then the next thing I need to do is to give that table a name. So let me call it summary. Let me call it product table summary. Product summary. Okay, equals to, now I'm going to paste that code. Now you can see I've pasted the code there. All I need to, I don't need to use the evaluate. Now I don't need to use the evaluate. Now let's see that table. Um, Now you can see the table here, product summary. So when I go to my table view and I click on the product summary, I click on the product summary. Now, yeah, I click on the product summary. You can see it's giving me the city and the customer ID. But once you want to run this query on your DAX Studio, once you want to run it on your DAX Studio, you must use that word evaluate. It's a keyword that must be used. Whenever you want to run a query on DAX Studio, you must use that keyword evaluate to evaluate that particular query. So any query you want to run on that studio, you must start with that keyword evaluate. So the evaluate, let's look at the mathematical terms. Mathematical evaluate, that is it an average? Is going to run the average? Is it minimum? Is going to evaluate it? Just carry out an iteration, carry out a calculation on that particular expression. That is what that evaluate does. So this you use this to connect. Why I use this to refresh? Now when you look at this place, when you load, connect your data to DAX Studio, your tables will appear here. As you can see, these are all my tables that appear. I have a customer table, a date table, email table, the new date table, the product table. I have the standard cost table, and I have a sales table, sales order table, sales territory table, and so on. Then in this particular place, you see the function. These are the different types of function you can see in DAX Studio. We have the date and time function, filter function, up to statistical function, query function, text and logical and financial function, engineering function, and so on. Why this particular place gives you some of the tables that are inbuilt in DAX Studio. So now that we've gone in, at the bottom here, you can see your this thing being opened at the bottom here. I can decide to duplicate, I can decide to close, and so on. So now let me bring up my Power BI. Let me bring up my my just what am I calling it? So let me bring up this thing with what are they called? PowerPoint. My a little bit of PowerPoint slide. Let's see. Let's see some of this query we can work with. Okay. Okay, now this is my PowerPoint slide. Now let's look at the average function. Let's look at the average function. Maybe at the end of this training, maybe I will just extract some of these functions that we are going to look at. I will send it to us in PDF form. I will send it to us in PDF form. Maybe that is what Mr. Wana was asking for, something like this. So some of the functions we are going to touch here, I will extract the functions out, and I think I will send it in PDF format to us. Okay, let's look at the average function. Here, the average function, we can see it returns the average of all the numbers in a column. That's what the average function does. And when you look at the average function, it has only one argument known as the column name. The average function has only one argument known as the column name. So we have to provide the name of the column to DAX for DAX to run this query. Now look at an example here. Evaluate average. Evaluate average. And also you can even this manual I got. I'm going to give you a site you can download the manual online. You can also get the manual online. Also, you can get the manual online. Okay, now this is average function. Now you can see the average function. This first talks about reference the table name. I want to look for the average of sales amount, and the sales amount is located in a table known as sales. So let us see how we can run that in DAX Studio, the average of sales amount. So let's see how we can run that in our DAX Studio, the average of sales amount. Let's see how we can do that in DAX Studio, the average of sales amount. Okay, now I'm here in my DAX Studio now. Okay, now I said earlier on, anytime you want to run the query in DAX Studio, you start with what? Evaluate. You use the evaluate keyword. So evaluate, I'm pressing down my shift key and my enter key. That takes it to the next line, and the space bar or you use your tab key to space that. Okay, now evaluate. What do I want to evaluate? I want to see the average. So these are the function. Now the average function. Now you can see returns the average, that is arithmetic mean of all the numbers in a column. So that's it, the average, that's the function. Now you can see the argument. It only needs one argument or one input. The average function needs only one argument or it needs only one input. So this is the average function, needs one argument or one input. Now I'm interested in the sales amount. The sales amount can be located in a table known as the sales table. The sales table. Now you can see this is a sales table. I have a column known as sales amount. So I'll first and foremost reference the table name because I have a list of tables. So for DAX Studio to be able to identify the particular table I'm interested in, so I reference that particular table known as sales. Then which column am I interested in? I'm interested in the column known as sales amount. You can see I type a square open bracket, not this type of open bracket, but rather the square open bracket. So I type the square open bracket and I type my bracket close. Now you can see this bracket and this bracket is closed. So the next thing I'm going to do, I like this because this comment is not attached to this second query. This second query, the comment is not attached. If not, when I run it, it's going to run that particular query. So I highlighted that because I want to run that particular query. Now you can see I run that particular query. Actually, the query ran, but I'm not having any results. You can see that it's giving me error. Why? Because now average gives you only a single value, and a single value is a scalar value. So since it's going to give me a single value, I'm going to use the curly bracket. I'm going to include the curly bracket in my query. So before executing that query, I use the wrong button. Now you can see that's giving me the output that the average sales amount is 905.62. So that is the average sales amount. So let's look at another DAX function. So let's see. Okay, let's see that average X function. Let's look at the AVERAGEX function. Now, AVERAGEX function, recall you start every query in DAX Studio with the evaluate keyword. Now, I want to check AVERAGEX. Now, this is average. This is AVERAGEX. Now, AVERAGEX deals with a table. You can see, calculate the average of a set of expression evaluated over a table. Now it's time to calculate what? The average of a set of expression. Now this will be the expression. So calculate the average of this set of this expression. Whatever expression I'm going to put here, calculate the average of that expression over a table. Now, which table am I interested in? Let's assume I'm still interested in that sales table. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to type the sales table. That's the sales table I'm interested in. Now, what is my expression? Okay, let's assume that my expression is the sales amount. Okay, let's try this and see. Now you can see that gives me the same result as this particular um, query. Now you can see the average. Now the average function has two arguments. The first is the table argument. That is the table you are interested in. The other one is the expression, which is what I just in this particular case I used sales amount. Now this expression could mean a lot of things. As we go on and on, you will see the various things I'm going to use in that particular word expression. Now this particular sales and make use of sales amount. There'll be a situation that I will use a function as long as the function is going to evaluate to a table. Okay, don't worry as we go on and on. Let me bring up, let's continue. Let me bring up my PowerPoint. Let's look at another function we can see. Okay, let's look at the count function, but let me bring up my my screen. Let me bring up my screen. We are going to look at the count function. Let me bring up my screen so you can see what okay, now this count function, the count function just have one function only have one argument known as the column argument. So count, that means you want to count the number of rows in that particular column. That's what the count function does. So the count function counts the number of rows in a specific function, in a specific column. Count the number of rows in a specific column. Now, the only argument allowed to this function is a column. So it's only a column that must be there. Nothing else, not a table name, it must be a column. Not an expression, it must be a column. Now, the count function counts rows that contains the following kind of values: numbers, dates, and strings. So any value that is not either a number, a date, or a string, the count column will not count that particular word, that particular column. Now, when the function finds no rows to count, it returns a blank. Blank values are skipped. Now, true or false values are not supported. It doesn't count any value that is true or false. Now, let's look at the count X. Okay, we also have the count A function, that's the counter function. Count the number of rows in a specific column that contains non-blank values. In most cases, This count A function, the counter function, gives a similar form value with the count function. But let's look at the count X. That's where I'm going to. Now, when in DAX, you can see when we have the average X, we have to deal with the table. Now, whenever you see anything that ends with X, count X, average X, it's always relates to a table. Now, the count X function counts non-blank results or non-blank rows when evaluating the result of an expression over a table. That is, it works just like the count A function, but it's used to iterate through the rows in a table and count rows where the specific expression results in a non-result. Now, what we're seeing, this count X function, it counts a non-blank rows in a table. It works like the count function and the count A function. Now, we have an example here, which when we get there, we're going to look at count X. Count X, the table name. Though we have images of a filter here. Images of a filter there. I make use of a filter in that particular instance. Okay, so now the count X function here, we count X filter product color equals to a product color. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all that. That's the context. Let's go to ADAX Studio so that I'll be able to explain that. So we will look at the count function, and we'll be looking at the count function, and we'll be looking at the count X function. When we get to ADAX Studio, I'm going to explain this particular function, count X filter product color equals to red. Okay, let's see that in the DAX Studio. Okay, now this is my DAX Studio now. Okay, I want to use the count function. Recall I have to start with that keyword evaluate. Now, what do I want to evaluate? I want to count the number of rows. Okay, let's assume though I made use of sales column in that other example, but let's use the product table here. So let's assume I want to count the number of rows in this product table. I want to see the number of rows in this column. In this column known as category. So I want to count that. First and foremost, you reference the table name because I have more than one table here. Even if you have only one table, you have to reference the table. So at that studio, we know the table you are referring to. So you have to reference the name of the table. I want to reference this table product. So the name of the table, this one is a function. That is the name of the table product. Then my open square bracket. What column am I interested in? Let's assume category. I'm interested in that column category, and a bracket closed. Now I want to count the number of rows in that particular column. I run that query. Now you see, I run the query. It's actually completed, but I have no output. So since the count function will give you a single value, so I have to use the curly brackets again because I'm only going to have just one single aggregate value. Then I run that. You can see I have 397 rows. Now when I place my mouse pointer here, you can see the rows in that particular table is 397. Now, okay, the other one we want to look at is the count tax function. The count tax function, that's the count tax function. Let's see the count tax function. The count tax function. Now, let's see, count the number of values which result from evaluating an expression from each rows in the table. Now, the count tax function has two arguments. The first argument is a table argument. The second is an expression. Now, this table argument is talking about the table name. So let's assume I'm interested in this table known as product. Okay, this is a table. That's the table name. Then the second argument is the word expression. Now, I want to count the number of products in this table name known as products. Which column am I interested in? Let's assume I'm interested in a particular column known as category. Okay, let's try that. Let's see. Okay, now since it will give me a scalar value, I have to introduce the curly bracket. Now you can see I have 397. But now, if when you look at this column known as category, when you look at this column known as category, this column, where is this table? Let's preview this data. Now let's look at the data now. When you look at this product, this table now, product table, we can see the category column. We have different types of categories of goods. We have the components, we have the accessories, we have the bikes, and we have the clothing. So I can decide to say, okay, um, in this particular case, I'm interested in that category known as component. Okay, component. I think it with the X. Okay, components. Now I'm telling evaluate this um, count this this column category that is located in the product table. But I only want you to count the categories of products that are components. That's what I want to know. I want to know the number of products that are components. So I want to know the number of products that are components. So let me put my this thing here. Okay, count product category equals to count product category. Okay, sorry, we were working with the count X. I've deleted the count X. We're working with the count X. Okay, count product. Okay, we're working with the count X where product category equals to component. Okay, I mistakenly deleted that. Now you can see it's giving me 397 rows. Now, okay, now count X product where product category equals to component. Okay, now I'm coming to this. COUNTAX product where product category equals to component. Okay, we can also do this other way around. We have the count function. We can say filter. Now filter this table known as a product. Okay, and okay, sorry, let me look at the argument. I didn't take note of the argument filter. Now you can see it has two arguments here, the table and the filter expression. So let's count that table, product, and the filter expression, count table product, where let's say product, um, let's say product, let's use that same product category equals to components. Okay, let's use the same. Okay, let's use this. run this particular query. Let's see. The COUNTX filter product where product category equals to component. Let's see. Okay, it's okay. Now it's completed, but it's not giving us an output. Let me run that again. COUNTX product category filter product. Okay, sorry. This filter function has two functions. We will say COUNTX product. We will use COUNTX product. Yeah. I'm coming. Let me check the arguments. Let me admit this person in. We'll check the arguments all over again. Okay. Let's see how many filter functions, how many arguments we have here. Someone is trying to call this line. No, the person should have clicked the link and not to use the die. Someone should have, the person should have clicked the link. Someone is trying to die this number. Someone is trying to. Can you share the link? Okay, fine. Thank God. Okay. So let's use now. I have two columns here. I have the table and the expression. So let's say let's assume this product. The table name there is product, and the expression there. I want to count which product, which table am I interested in. I'm interested in that product table known as category. Okay, and we run that. Okay, fine. Then I said we can also do it this other way around. So we could also do it this way. Okay, I count this. Let me delete all this so I can see the function. Okay. Okay. Now I have two. Okay, one, and the other one is an expression. Okay. The table. We make use of filter. We use the filter. Okay, filter table and the filter expression. Like I said, filter table product. Oh, sorry, I'm going to, okay. Filter table product and the expression, let's say products. I'm going to explain it in a second, please. Just let me see. Components. Okay. Products, components. Okay, and well, filter that product components. Here's the table products. Where filter this table product, where product component is this dash. Now, and let me pick the product and category. Please, I'm going to explain that in a second. I just want to, let me see what I'm trying to do first and foremost. Okay, it's completed. Filter this table products. Okay, let me run it one after the other. I think you understand it with that. Okay, I have this filter this table, evaluate count. Okay, let me start with this filter product category. This now evaluate evaluate filter product something is missing. This is what is missing. Okay, now you can see. Okay, let me explain the function. Let me explain what I just did. Evaluate, which we've known that. Now I said I'm using a function known as what? Filter. Now this filter function has two arguments. The first argument is a table argument, the other one is a filter expression. Now this table, I'm interested in this table known as what? Product. So I typed the table there, product that I'm interested in. While the other one says filter argument. Now you can see instead of filter expression, sorry, that's the filter expression argument. In other words, the second argument that you will include must be an expression that selects, in other words, that filter this particular table known as products. That's I say filter expression. The expression must be an expression that filters the table. Now you can see my product table here, category. I have various categories of goods, components, accessories, bikes, and clothing. So now I want to filter this table known as product, as you can see now. I'm only interested in those ones that are category, that are components, that are component category products. Now, so the expression that you must put here must be an expression that filters this particular table. So that is what I put, product category equals to component. So I use the product, then the column in which you are interested in, because this is a table name, I've already referenced the table name, the column I'm interested in is that category column. Out of that category column, I don't want DAX Studio to bring out the whole table. I only want DAX Studio to bring out a specific product. Let's assume clothing now. Then I type my bracket close because I have a bracket open here. So very remember, you can see I'm not using a scalar, I'm not using a curly bracket here. And also take note, I'm making use of double quotes here, double quotation sign here. Why? Because this clothing is a text, is a character data type. That's why I'm making use of the double quotation sign. So I'm not, and again, I'm not using the coiling bracket here. I'm not using this coiling bracket. Why? Because this will give me a result, an output known as a table that the output is going to give to me. So filter product category equals to clothing. So let's check. Let's see our table. Let's see. Okay, you can see the clothing here. There is no X in the clothing. That is why I'm not having any output, because I want to include I want to include a X in that particular query. So clothing does not have a X, so I included the X. So that means you have to be very, very careful while running your query. So you can see now it only gives me that for that particular categories of good known as product. Now I've gotten that now. So from this point to this point, you've understood this point to this point. Now, so count X. So we want to bring in the count X now. So we say count X evaluate. Okay, evaluate what? Let's bring this. Let's copy that and then evaluate this. And we know that this will give me a table. Okay, fine. And we know that, the count tax function. Now you see tax function has two arguments. The first is a table argument, the other one is an expression. Now the table argument is not necessarily to be a table name. It could be an expression that results to a table, like this particular case now. All the while we'll be using a table name. But I don't want to use a table name this time around. I don't want to use a table name this time around. You can see the table. I want to paste this expression we copied from here. I want to paste that expression there. I want to paste that expression instead of using the table name. We already know that this expression will give us a table. Will give us a summary of a table. So that is a table. Then remember, it also have another argument known as the expression. So let's call this. Let's just use this expression and let's see what it will give to us. Probably because we are duplicating that. Okay, let's also use the same floating here. Okay, let's calculate this. That okay. Let's make use of let's make use of another. So let's call that color and let's see if it will run that query. Okay, it ran the other query, but I think the COUNTX function is where product count this, where product color. Okay, it's not giving us an output. Let's check another. Let's look instead of spending much time here. So spending much time with that. Okay. I was looking at the COUNTX function before we went offline. Let me bring up my screen. Okay. Now we're looking at the COUNTX function. Okay, let's look at another function. We have the count row function. We have the count row function. We have a lot of functions. We have the maximum, minimum function. Let's look at okay. Let's look at the SUMX function. Let's see the SUMX function. Now the SUMX function returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each row in a table. Now the sum function, it returns the sum of an expression. This is the expression. Whatever expression you're going to put here, it's going to return the sum of that expression by evaluating each row in a table. Now we can see an example here. Sum X. The X is the sales amount. For sum X, the sum. Now let's see an example here. Sum X. Now the first argument here is the name of the table. Now why the other argument is a column. So we are now telling that give me the sum of this column known as sales amount. Give me the total sum of this column known as sales amount. So we're now telling to give us a sum of that column known as total amount. Okay, let's see how the sum function works. Let's try the SUMX function. I don't want to pick the okay. Now recall you start with that keyword evaluate. Now I want to evaluate. I want to use the SUMX. Now the SUMX returns the sum of an expression that evaluated for each row in a table. The sum of an expression that evaluates for each row in the table. Now, okay, because before we went offline, okay, let me be done with this. Sum X, I want to sum the sales. Let's assume I'm interested in the sales table. I'm interested in the sales table. Okay, I'm interested in this table, the sales table. Okay, I'm interested in that sales table. And in that sales table, I'm interested in this column of the sales table known as the sales amount. There's a column in that table known as sales amount. So sales amount. I will type a bracket close. Now I'm telling that now I'm sorry, not the bracket close. Remember we call it as two arguments. The first argument is the table. I said the first argument is a table, so this should be my table. Then a comma here. Then the second argument is the expression. So a table name could be an expression. A column name could be an expression. So the expression here I'm referring to here is now the sales column. The sales amount column. The sales amount column is a column I'm interested in. So you can see the first argument is the table. I provided the table name. And we know that the table name now, you should know that the table name does not only mean the name of a table. It could be an expression like this that will result to a table. We did something like this. Filter this particular expression that will give you an expression in this format known as table. Okay, now we know that when we talk about expression, it does not only mean the name of a table, and an expression could also be just a table name. So SUMX, the name of this table, and expression sales amount. Now you can see that expression there, the sales amount expression. Then you can see that there. So you click on this and we run that. Now I'm having an error. By now you should know why I'm having the error, because the sum gives me a single value. It gives me an aggregate value. Since it gives me an aggregate value, I have to introduce the curly brackets into that particular query. Now you can see sum x, the table, then the column of that particular table, which is what the expression. I could also say sum x, this particular table. What do I want to is the table. That's the table I want to sum. Then what expression in that table that I want to have? The sales amount I want to sum. So that is for the SUMX function. So let me see up another function we can also work with. We can also look at some other functions. There are a lot of functions here, but let's see some functions we can work with. Okay, I think some other powerful functions in DAX. Let's look at that. Lookup value also is a very powerful function in DAX. Okay, let's look at all these functions and the all function, the all except function, that's the filter function, the all except function, the all selected function. Okay, let's see all these functions, the all function, all selected function, and the all except function. Okay, SUMX calculate the sum of these. Sales territory equals to the country. Okay, let's see this function, how it works. The all selected, all except, and we look at some of those other functions. I'm going to explain the function when we get to that place. Let's leave the PowerPoint for now. I'm going to explain the function. Now, when you say evaluate, you start to evaluate keyword. Now, what do I want to evaluate? I want to evaluate calculate. Now, this is a function known as calculate. It's one of the powerful functions in DAX Studio. Calculate. What do we want to calculate? An expression in a future context. Now, let's assume I want to calculate the sum of sales. Or let's assume. Okay, let's assume I want to calculate the sum of sales. The sum. By now, we should be available. From there, with the sum function, we have one argument, which is what a column name. Now, the column I want to sum, I want to sum that sales amount. So I have to reference the table name first. Then I will reference the column I'm interested in. So calculate this known as the sum of sales amounts. We call this particular argument as this particular function calculate has two arguments. The first argument is what the expression, and this is our expression, that is sum sales amount. So then the second argument is what filter. Now sum sales amount, I just don't want you to give me the sales amount. Let's assume I want to say sum sales amount, and then let's see the product. Let's reference this table known as product table, and the category, the column category in that product table, where the product category equals to components. Okay, I think we've done the things in order. Okay, let's run this and let's see. Having an error as usual is okay, but now you can see it gives me the sum for that particular the sum for that particular column. Now sum sales amount product category. Now for only the category of that product, it's giving me the sum of is giving me the sum for only that category of product known as component. That's the sales amount, the total sales amount for that particular category of goods known as component. So let's see this other one. Now I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I have something around 11 million. So when I just happen to run only part of that query, and I put the curly bracket. Now it actually ran the query calculate the sum of sales amount, calculate sum of sales amount. I actually evaluated that sum of sales amount, calculate sum of sales amount. I want to see what is omitted. I don't think anything is omitted here. I think everything is in order. So let's introduce that curly bracket. I don't think anything is omitted here. Sum sales amount. Okay, let me check the argument first. Okay, argument filter is not an optional argument. The argument filter is not an optional argument. When you look at this argument filter, you can see the argument filter is not in a square bracket. Whenever an argument is in a square bracket, that implies that that argument is optional. If you like, you include it. If you don't like, you don't include that argument. But in this particular case, it's not in a square bracket. So that means I can't run this query in this way because of that second argument. The second argument, the filter argument, is not in the square bracket. So this is the only way I can run it. You must include the filter into that. Okay, that is a calculate function. Then I said we want to look at the other functions, all except, all selected, and the rest of that. So let's see, evaluate. Okay, evaluate, let's say calculate. I've used the calculate function now. We are familiar with the calculate function. So calculate the sum of sales. Calculate the sum. Okay, calculate the sum. Okay, let me just copy this. Now calculate the sum of that sales amount for the bracket. Now calculate that. The other argument here is a filter argument. In this particular case, now in this particular case, I make use of this filter, but I don't want to use that filter now. I want to use all. I said we want to talk about the all selected and rest of them. So I'm going to use the all function. Let's say filter sum all. It's not. I need the argument. Expression sum. I need the argument to come up so I can. Okay, you know what? Let's go to. Let me bring up my Power BI screen so we run this in Power BI. It's even the better in Power BI because you will understand it better in Power BI. You understand that better in Power BI. So let me bring up my Power BI screen. Power BI screen, you will understand that better in Power BI. You will understand that well in Power BI. Okay, now let's call this a new measure. I'm going to call that sales all. Okay, let me call that sales. Now this time around we are dealing with all. Okay, now I said calculate. Now that's the calculate function. Now the first is expression, which is a sum, sales amount. Okay, and you can see bracket close here. Bracket close now, comma. I want now introduce the all function, and the all function is coming up now. I just needed the argument now. The argument here is either you provide a table name or a column name. Now, and you can see it's even optional. And here also is in the square bracket, which is optional. So the table I'm interested in is this particular table known as sales territory. There's a table here known as sales territory. That table known as sales territory. So either a table name or a column name. So let's say sales territory, and in that particular sales territory column, let's assume I'm interested in that sales country because I bracket close, then hit enter. Okay, now you can see my output here. Let me put it here. This here. Now when you go to that sales, when you go to the sales table, when you go to the sales territory table, I have a column known as country. So what I did was to calculate the sales. I'm going to explain that, but let me be done with the query now. Let me be done with the query. I'm going to explain that. Just let me be done with the query. I will explain that to you. Okay, now, so that is for the sales, that is for all. Now, let's calculate another one. Let's calculate the all except. Let's look at the all except. I'm just going to copy all this. I'm going to copy all this. Okay, I go to new measure because it's going to give me a single value. That is why I'm clicking on new measure. So that is what you do in Power BI. But you look at in DAX. In DAX, we don't give a name in DAX. In DAX, we don't give a name. We use evaluate. We don't give a name. We use evaluate in DAX. There's no way we use a name in DAX to start. But when you come to Power BI, you always give a name. You start with a name in Power BI. You can say I'm using a name that equals to. Now, what I want to do now is this. I want to use it all selected. All selected. Now, okay. Now we already know that I'm going to use all selected. Now the argument is up. It's because the argument wasn't coming up in that. That is the reason why. Now you can see I either give a table name or a column name. Now I'm saying calculate the sum of sales. I want the Power BI to calculate because I'm in Power BI now. I want that to calculate the sum of sales when all selected. In other words, sales territory. Now country. In other words, calculate the sum of sales for all the selected country. For all the selected country, I want DAX to calculate the sum of sales for all the selected countries. So calculate the sum of sales for all the selected countries. Why here I say calculate the sum of sales for all the whole countries. Now we'll see the difference. Okay, now it's telling me I already have that name. Okay, let me see all selected. Let me put an underscore here and hit enter. Now you can see the all selected here. Now you can see I'm having the same value, but they are not the same. That is why DAX is better learned in Power BI than in DAX. I'm going to copy this query. I'll paste it on DAX query. It's because it wasn't giving me the argument so that I can explain better. That's the reason I decided to opt for Power BI. So I'm going to copy that also again. I'm going this time around. I'm going to use all selected. Let's try all selected this time around. Okay, so we all except. Now we'll delete all this because we already understand the reduce other one. Now all except. Now calculate all. Give me the sum of sales. That's calculate the sum of sales for all except this particular table name The first must be a table name. You can see a table name, comma. It's not in brackets. It's a table name, not in square bracket. So it must be a table name. And the table we're interested in is our sales territory. Okay, that's the sales territory. And which column in that sales territory? Remember, is a country column we're interested in. So you can see how the argument works. So I'm telling us calculate the total sum of sales for all the sales territory for the country, except, that is what I said, except, all except. Okay, now let's hit the enter button. Now we can see this. Fine, we've seen this now. So let's go to our product. Let's bring out the country. Now this is a country. Now in this country we have let's go to the sales table. Now this is a sales table. In this sales table, recall we have a column known as sales amount. Now that is a sales amount. Now the sales amount is not giving me the right figure. Okay, the sales amount is not giving me the right figure. That must be, there is a problem with my modeling there. So let me check the modeling there. In this modeling, where's my sales territory table? Now you can see the sales territory table is just on its own. So let me try to connect the sales territory table with a particular table. Now this is my sales table. Now I have the sales territory key here. Okay, in this sales territory, I have just country, group, and region. Okay, let me see what I can use it to connect with this table. That was the reason I'm having that error there. Let me look for a column to connect it with that particular table. A column here. Okay, let's see what we can. Let's just get a column. Okay, this customer table here. I have city, I have country, region. Let me see. I have country, group, and region here. So I need. Okay, let me check the customer table and let me check the reseller table. Let me see the customer table and reseller table. Let me see what I have. Okay, the country region. Okay, I have United States and the rest of that. So let me use that to connect this particular table and let's see what it will give to us. Okay, since in this customer table, my country region, I have a column known as country region. I have a column known as country region. Let me try to use it to connect this column known as country. Okay, I've created a connection. Now, this table is connected to, now this table is connected to this table. Why this is connected to this table? Now, okay, now, okay, this table is connected to this table. Why this table, this customer table is connected to, okay, this customer table is not connected to this. So let me create a connection between the two tables. If not, the error will not be most stable there. Let me look for something to connect those two tables together. I have city, product key, customer ID, postal code. Let me just get a column I can use to connect the two tables. Ship date, sales amount, reseller key, product key, due date key, order date key. Let me see if I add a column where I have city, customer ID, postal order. I then have a column here. Product ID, product key. No. I don't think I have a column to connect this to table. I have to connect the two tables so that this arrow here, this particular arrow, there is an arrow there. This is giving us error. It's giving me the same value. That's the error. So for me to rectify that, I have to connect this table to this sales table. Now to connect it, I've connected it to customer table. Okay, let me remove the connection with customer table. Let me try another table. Let me use another table to connect that. Let's connect that with another table. Okay, now this reseller table is already connected to sales table. Let me see if I have something. Okay, I think I've gotten something. Let me connect these two together. Now you can see this table is connected to this table. Okay, now this table, okay, um, this reseller table is already connected to my customer table. Let me change this connection type. Let me duplicate that. Let me use boot. Click on OK. Okay, fine. Now this is already connected to this. So in other words, the sales territory table is now connected to the sales table indirectly. So let's see if that will rectify. Now you can see that rectifies the problem. So that is when you are running that DAX studio or your data set. The way you model your data set matters a lot. Once your data set and not your tables are not well connected, you'll be having error in your analysis. Okay, now you can see that it's giving me this now. Now in this particular case, we have what all. We have sales all. Now that is sales all. Now you can see the sales all is giving me a single value. Now let me explain that now to us. The sales is giving just a single value. So let me explain now. If the time will come to explain. Now I said all. Now this all. Now this all function returns all the rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filter that might have been applied. Now the all function removes any form of filter that have been applied to that particular table. Now you can see this normal sales amount gives me the sales for Australia, the sales for Canada, the sales for France, the sales for United States. But when I use the all function, what the all function does, any form of filter, any form of filter, look at it. Now I told that calculate the sum, give me the total sum of sales, give me the total sales amount, give me the total sales amount, but don't calculate it in respect to the country, each country. So exclude country calculation. Don't calculate it in country wise. Don't calculate it based on the country. Remove every form of filter related to the country. Now, this particular case filter it country by country. But when you use the all, you are telling that you don't make the all. You don't want to you don't want to calculate the total sum of sales on a country basis. That's what the all does. Why it is all selected? Now this is telling you that calculate the sum of sales based on the selected country. Now all selected. What we are telling that is that calculate the total sum of sales calculate the total sum of sales. I want you to calculate the total sum of sales, but only for the selected countries. Now, so that is for this. Let's drag this and drop it here. Now you can see it's giving me the same value, but when I click on this, that's the filter. That's the filter. Okay, I want to filter that. I go to the sales territory column and bring the country. Now you can see the country there. You can see the various country. Now, and you can see the various country there. Now you can see various country. Now, once it's selected, do you see that? It's calculating the sum of sales only for the selected countries. Now you can see the value here. The moment I remove this, it's giving me the same value like this all function. But the all select is saying that calculate all the sum of sales, but only for the selected country. Well, when I select a country, it calculates that for that country. But when let me change this my filter setting, selection, let me multiple selection. Now you can see two countries selected. It's giving me the sum of sales for two countries. When I look for three countries, you can see. Now it's giving me the total sum of sales. You can see the aggregate sum of sales. When I remove this, but when I click only on this, it's giving me the aggregate for only Australia. When I click on Canada, it's giving me the aggregate of the sum of sales for Australia and Canada. You can see the aggregate is 15,000 something. That's why it's giving me the aggregate value, aggregate value, aggregate value. But in this all, it's only giving me one value. Why is in this particular all, you are telling that calculate the sum of sales, ignore or whatsoever filter that will be applied in that particular function. Why the all selected? The all selected function. When you go to all selected function, where is that? All selected function. Now, all except. All except. Now, this is the all except function. You are telling us calculate the total sum of sales except for the ones that are selected. Calculate total sum of sales except for the ones that are selected. Now, the all selected, let's drag and drop it there. Now you can see the all selected is giving me similar value with the sum of sales is first value we have here. So when you click one here, it calculates the total sum of sales, except for those ones that are not selected. It's giving me the total sum of sales, except for the ones that are not selected. The ones that are not selected are not included in the sum of sales. Now, let us run all this query in DAX. When you run all the query in DAX, just as we have similar value, it will give you the same value. So let's copy this and go to DAX. Let's run the query in DAX. Okay, this is when I was trying to do it there. Okay, remember we don't need this one in DAX. And recall this will give me is a single aggregate value, so I have to use my curly bracket. Then let's run this. Let's highlight and run. Now you can see it's giving me this function. Now we'll use all selected. Let me quickly copy that for all selected. Let me copy that for all selected. Now for all selected, there is a query for all selected. Now you can see we don't need this. All what we need is evaluate. Now that's for code selected. You can see the value that the first query gave to us, the first code it gave to us. Now it will just give us the same value. But for you to understand it very well, that's why I normally tell people DAX is based on the stood in Power BI. But when you teach people DAX in Power BI, they talk, no, why don't you run it on DAX window? Because it's giving us the same value, but they are not the same thing. They don't mean the same thing. Let me bring the last one, and we run the last code there. That's all except. Okay, we don't need this in DAX. Evaluate. Okay. Um, let me align all this and let me format that. Okay. Okay, fine. It has formatted that. Formatted that. Okay, fine. Then let me run it now. Now, okay, I need my curly bracket now because it will only give me an aggregate value. Now you can see. But when we saw in Power BI, you can see that these three functions are different. So this is where we are going to draw the content to our training. In case you have any question, let me take some question and answer. If you have any question, remember to drop in the chat there. In the chat, remember to drop your email. I'm going to send you the video. I'm going to send the video to you. So, do we have any question? Do we have any question? Okay, fine. So we draw the curtain here. You want to learn more on that? We are having a training in 2 weeks' time. The flyer will be out. You can enroll for the training if you want to. This is where we draw the curtain today. So see you next time. Bye bye. Yeah, remember to drop your email so that I can send you the